Alright, welcome back. The fly we're going to tie today is one of my go-to streamer flies. This is what I'm throwing in clear water, sunny day situations. This is Chuck Craft's Kreelex. The original Kreelex looks something like this. This one's tied on a jig hook. So here you have the copper and the gold. Super flashy fly. This is why bright sun, clear water, this gets the fish moving. It's right in that 2 to 3 inch range. You can tie them micro, you can tie them bigger. But I think that size and profile really get the fish going. Not too offensive to the fish, but enough to get that reactive bite. Here's another color I like to use. This is gold over pearl. This is Polar Flash. And then this is a great platform, similar to a clouser, but you could take this platform and add different materials. So here I have peacock curls over copper. That works really well. And then here's one that I've been working on to try to mimic crawfish. So you have natural materials, but then over it you have your traditional Kreelex wing. So the one that you see in the vise and the one that we're going to tie today, this is using a material called Scales and Tails by MFC. What I was trying to do is create a more modeled, more toned down version of the Kreelex. This would be for your, dark day, clear water situations where you don't want to throw too flashy of a fly, but you still want something with that slim minnow profile, jig action. And this material is great. I bought this material originally to tie bunker flies for stripers down in the Jersey Shore. It creates really nice sculpted bodies. But as I was working with it, I said this is the consistency that I'm looking for with the Kreelex. So I tied up a few and it worked well in those dark day clear water situations. So let's get tying. The hook we're using today is a Tiemco 5263. Just a great get the job done streamer hook. And I really like using streamer hooks with a down eye whenever I'm tying, hook point up flies like a clouser or a Kreelex. And that's just because I like to have, when I strip the fly in, you have more of a resistance against it with the down eye, so it creates a better jigging action as opposed to if it was a straight eye, you're kind of just pulling it across. Great. The thread we're using is uni thread, rust brown, 6/0. For the light flies, I like to use yellow, and for the dark flies, I like to use rust brown. So let's get started. We're going to start our thread about at the 3/4 mark. 3/4 or 1/4, depending on how you're looking at the fly. This is where we're going to put our eyes in. The eyes we're using today are MFC Tungsten Sparkle Eyes and Black Nickel Sparkle Yellow. These are great. This is the medium size. So we're going to attach our eye. So what I like to do for the eyes is I throw 4 wraps, 3, 4. Pull it back towards the back fly, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 wraps behind, 4 wraps in front. 3 around one side of the eye, 3 around the other side of the eye. 2, 3, put it in front. And then that should be good enough, right? There might be a little wiggle, you can add some glue, but that'll get the job done. Cool. So the first color we're going to start with is this Scales and Tails Cotton Candy. You can see here there's just so many colors in this, right? You got your blues and pinks and everything your bait fish could ever have in its belly. That's what this Scales and Tails has. So I'm going to pull, I would call this about a pencil's thickness of it. Give yourself some room. You don't want to cut yourself short. So this is about a pencil. So I'm going to snip that here, like so. Alright. So I've got my section here. It's about an 8-inch section, I would call it. Right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that at probably the 3/4 mark or the 1/4, once again, depending on how you're looking at it. And I'm going to put that shorter section towards the front of the hook. And I'm going to do a pinch wrap behind the eyes. Do another pinch wrap. And now I'm going to take this and pull it back and just wrap over the shank. Do your best to keep all the material together and keep the material on top of the shank. You don't really want it wrapping around to the back, to the bottom of the shank. Cool. So the next step is something I do. It's not in the original pattern. This is Bill's body braid. Any of you saltwater guys, you probably used this before. Great, just great for wrapping the material around the shank. I like to use this in this pattern to create that lateral line, because you have light, and then underneath the light you'll have the body braid, and then underneath the body braid you'll have the olive. And if you flip it around, then you have, you know, your dark on top, your lateral line, and then you have the pearl on the bottom. So I'm going to attach that in and then wrap up to the eyes. I'm going to take this and wrap all the way up to the eye. Take that, keep going, keep going. Excellent. So now we're at the eye. I'm going to wrap it around and trap that in. I'm going to flip this around and cut that excess off, like so. Great. So now we're sitting at the eye. So one thing I see a lot of people do, or I've seen before, I've done it myself too, is they'll try to do one move where they'll pull it over the eye and then they'll wrap it around the eye and try to gather it here. And what that does is just creates an awkward tie down point. So you'll strip this back, do a couple wraps in front of the eye, pinch it down with your thumb, throw a couple wraps to pull this down, like so. What I like to do is I'll just grab my right hand, throw 1, 2 loose ones with the left hand, pull it straight down. Now we have this sticking out here, going towards the front. I throw a wrap behind the eyes, pull that material back, and throw a bunch of wraps in here. So now what we've effectively done is we've created the bottom portion of our fly. So you have the tail, and then you have this body portion that's folded over the eyes to give you more of that like minnow pearl-shaped body. So now I'm going to wrap this back over and flip the fly around. So now we're going to do our top section. So this is the scales and tails in dirty olive. Like I said before, just tons of color. It's just a great material. So we're going to cut another piece about a pencil's length again. Give yourself some room, probably 8 inches. Like so. That's about how thick we're looking for. And same process. You're going to have a longer piece that goes towards the tail, like so. And then you're going to have a shorter piece in the front. So you're in front of the eye. You do a couple wraps. And here, wrap towards the eye. And then back to the dumbbell eyes. And the reason for that is because when you turn this over, right, now you're not fighting trying to get that thread to catch the material. Because you tied it to the front and then back to the back, now you have a little bit of space there with the thread, and when you fold it over, it creates this nice little landing spot for your thread. So you're going to throw a couple in there. Like so. Pull this material back. And then wrap over that little bump, creating a nice head on the fly. I like to cover up all that green, but not important. Great, and then we're gonna throw a whip finish in. And whip finish by hand, or you could do it with the tool. I'll do it with the tool here. So we'll throw a whip finish in. Finish that up. Excellent. And I'll just snip that, and there you have it. So now, we're gonna trim this. So the first thing I like to do is I like to grab my shorter section of the green or the olive or the top, whatever it is, measure it. You see the pearl down here? You're gonna measure it to length. So now you've created a little bit of a body profile. And then the tail, I like to leave these long. We'll pull this back and we'll go, if that's the length of the hook, we'll go to about another length of the hook here. And so what I'll do is I'll cut it straight, like so. And I'll shape it a little bit, but nothing crazy. And now what'll happen is when that fly swims, it'll sink down to this nice little minnow profile. Another thing you could do, and just adds a little bit more dimension to your fly, is you take a Sharpie and you just kind of run it over the top here. So now you have your light body, you have your olive midsection, and then you have your dark top, and that is the fly. This is the MFC Scales and Tails version of Chuck Craft's Kreelex fly. This will get the job done. This is a great fly. Time in all the different versions. You can see here, time in the original. Throw some different materials in there. It's just a great fly all around. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and go get 'em.